I don't think we feel alone in fighting an access of we can't. I'm an elected politician. I am responsive and accountable to my constituents. My constituents asked me, this is in any democracy, you are in office until your constituents decide otherwise, right? That is exactly what happens here and everywhere where there are elections. I would also find comfort in very strong alignment speeches by congressmen and senators from across the aisle here, saying that we need to really continue to fight for our values and freedom of speech, liberty being at the very top. What we cannot, however, underestimate is that an alliance of democracies also means that you can trade with each other. I would much rather, if we talk about energy diversification, start to rely more on the United States than on perhaps slightly less reliable neighbors of our continent, where elections don't exist and rights are not protected, where minorities are crushed, where women are never seen. That, to me, would be a fundamental betrayal of everything I believe in. And there I think we can work together, and for us, the meaning of an autocrat is the same, wherever you are, if you are living in a democracy. Free speech versus censorship. What we sometimes see as the protection of a person to say whatever he or she wants, but without incitement of hatred, violence, terrorism, could be interpreted as being an extension of what is known as censorship. We refute that. And we refute it because I can tell you that I am the constant target of journalists, questions, opinions, criticisms or not, depending. And this is Europe. And that's how it should be. And it's my responsibility to respond to that. Do I think it's fair? Not always. But Europe benefits from that. And if we don't say this, then those who lived behind the Iron Curtain and had zero rights and freedoms will not be able to say that we are doing them justice. Because for decades they had none. So how do we do it? How do we project ourselves? Is it true that perhaps we have not been able to find the right balance between privacy and liberty? I'm a lawyer, we can discuss this at length. Is it true that we could now look at certain of the decisions that were taken by the social media platforms? By the way, we are the largest customers of those social media platforms. We're not aiming to create parallel structures. We use them, we are consumers, and we pay quite a lot. And therefore, that means that rules that should be upheld need to be upheld. And there's not only rules here, but rules in the European Union, rules elsewhere. But again, those social media platforms cannot operate in China. They are not operating in many of the places in the world, but they operate fully. Do I wish that they could be more open? That we could be more flexible in the way, for example, AI is used inside Europe and not blocked so that we do not stunt growth and research? Yes, we could do much better. And this move links me to the evisceration, as you called it, of the due diligence. This was my 5th European Parliament election campaign, and every campaign is different. And in every campaign, I can tell you that there's one thing that dominates discussions that is used by populists in order to attack the European Union. It could be migration, it could be development aid. This time it was the CSDD. Nobody knew what CSDD stood for, but they knew there was something bad. And the reality is that if you have legislation that is well-intentioned, well thought out, potentially well drafted, If it's not going to work, you have to look at it. So if essentially pieces of legislation are going to drive businesses out of Europe, we have a problem. If essentially you have government leaders asking for help, especially in the gas, fuel, electricity systems, where you need to rely on third countries, and legislation makes that impossible or unimplementable, we need to look at it. So this came on my desk yesterday. I spent early this morning with my team a lot of time to see, because it's my role, it's my position to decide which committees this goes to, how fast it goes. What I can assure you is that we will be efficient in seeing where things could improve, and also a realistic assessment that this Parliament is very different to the previous one, which means that the majorities will be flipped on this. It's our responsibility, we will do our job, but we will also need to be realistic. So where we go.
All right, let's have 3 more very quick ones in the back. Starting in the back, and then we'll come forward.